Good afternoon, traders. Today's Tuesday, March 26th. We're coming to here from RJO Futures in Chicago to talk to you about the quarterly grain stocks as well as the planting intentions number that comes out Thursday, so 2 days from now at 11 o'clock Central. Key, remember that 11 o'clock Central, that's a new time that's been going on since this year with the grain numbers. Big report here. The intentions number is, one of the bigger reports of the year. It gives us an indicator of how much corn's going to be planted, how much soybeans, how much wheat, etc. And then also the quarterly grain stocks to see how do the grains currently look in storage right now. Frank, what are we looking at here for Thursday?
Well, Bob, like you said, two big reports here, and in my mind, by far the most important part will be the stocks. Because of the past year's drought, we have very tight supply. We're going to get a clearer picture on the stocks report, just what the usage has been like. And obviously, because of the drought and the tight supply, we're expecting a large number of acres to get planted. And obviously, we're going to need the cooperation of the weather. And, a year ago, this month, things were very dry, very warm. We got off to an early start, and we're looking for a bumper crop, and it didn't materialize. So we're looking at 3 years in a row now that we've had disappointing yields and production. So one would hope that we have a change in the weather trend here, and that we're going to get into something more normal in terms of moisture. But we also, we need to get the crop in the ground first and then see what happens after that. As far as the stocks go, traders seem to be really concerned with the tightness of the corn supply. We're looking for somewhere around 5 billion bushels in stocks. Could be a little more, a little less. But, any big changes there, and it's going to give us some direction. And corn is likely to be the leader, I would say, because that seems to be where all the focus has been, at least the past few weeks. We've seen corn prices move up to, that 730 level or so.
Yeah.
Soybeans, we're looking for right around a billion, maybe 950 million bushels there. And wheat, somewhere about 1.1 and a half million bushel or billion bushels there also. So we're going to get a lot of acres.
Yeah.
It's a question on whether the weather cooperates or not.
Yeah, and how accessible is it to get some of these crops in the ground? Like Frank touched on earlier, we're much cooler at this point in the year than we were the last few years, going up to, and the lower Midwest has a sizable amount of snow on the ground. So we'll see if that has any delays in getting crops in the ground. But Kevin, what are you looking at on it?
I think if you look at the stocks numbers, certainly the same numbers that Frank was talking about, 5 billion bushels in the corn, about a billion to 935 in beans. Those are tight numbers any way you slice it, so I think that certainly can have an effect on prices here. But I think the key is going to be what the planting intentions are. We're looking at about 97 million acres of corn, and what I always remind people of is, a lot of analysts are out saying trendline yields, and that's assuming that weather conditions are perfect.
Yeah.
When you get 97 million acres of corn or above, you're starting to plant corn into marginal ground. And the one thing we have to remember is that 1 million to 2 million acres is coming out of CRP this year, so that's going to add some additional acres. And generally speaking, you're not going to have the same nutrient levels in the soil that you would have on really
CRP, is that conservation?
Conservation reverse program. So you're going to have about
probably have some more corn in the ground. Yeah.
Right. You can get yields off that, but on any given year, you almost need perfect weather in order to do so. So the yields just may not be there. The production may not be there that everyone thinks, unless the weather is absolutely ideal and perfect, which, like Frank said, we haven't had for 3 years. And who knows if that's going to change. It looks like it's going to be a cold, wet spring here to start, and that's delaying planting for everything thus far, and could certainly support prices here in early spring.
Right, start to build a little weather premium into the market, and normally bumper crops come when we get an early start, not a late start.
Yeah.
Right.
And what I think is real interesting about this corn stocks number, we focus week to week on export sales, and everybody's talking about how disastrous corn sales have been, but 40% of the corn crop goes into ethanol now, and then roughly another 40% into feed, right? Feed isn't a number that we get every week or even every month. It's a quarterly thing. So we're going to get a better idea if the corn has been used that way or if we've seen a shift into the wheat. Wheat prices have really come down, recently trading, below the price of corn. So I wouldn't be surprised if we have more corn than what we thought. I could be wrong, but, if we get a surprise, that would be the one I'm looking for, is that we actually have more corn than what we're looking for.
You're absolutely right with this number. I mean, it's whose guess is how much, what's the acreage going to be like on, you might as well guess what the weather's going to be like next month with the acreage report. It's estimates, but Frank's right. The key to look at is the stocks, like you said, the grain stocks for this report. That'll be where the real news, I feel, in the market will be made.
Where the direction's going to come from. And, something else we need to keep in mind, we've seen so many times around these 3-day holidays, grain markets gap on the next session.
Yeah, Friday being Good Friday holiday, most markets are closed.
And the end of the month, the end of the quarter, a 3-day holiday weekend, and a big report.
Yeah.
Volume's light, traders away from the desk,
Yeah, big holiday week in general. Started with Passover yesterday. So, yeah, I think that there could be some fireworks on this report. It comes out kind of late in the day, really, 11 o'clock Central Time. We have a few hours to go through all the numbers and figure out, if it's bullish or bearish. It could be a little bit of both between the two reports.
Yeah, I mean, playing the volatility of this report, going back to what Frank and Kevin have touched on, I mean, you could look at using option strategies to play volatility. There will be, like Frank talked about, sometimes you do get gaps on these long weekends with a big report like this. So definitely it's going to be an interesting report. Looking forward to it on Thursday. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact us. Remember, futures trading does pose significant risk. It's not suitable for all investors. And remember to follow us on Facebook and on Twitter.